Now, the next thing that you talk about in your report is something that he states in the video about him being an amateur boxer from 2004 to 2012, correct?
That's correct.
Prosecutor has made reference to this. You guys discussed this during your direct examination. You recall this, correct?
Briefly, yes.
I noticed that in the sworn statement, you made reference to this statement because it occurred in the pre-interview, correct?
In the formal?
Correct. I mean, you asked him what of his previous job was, and you bring up his career as an amateur boxer.
That's correct.
25 and over.
Correct.
Right? That's pretty good, right?
Yes, it is.
I mean, even Ronda Rousey loses a fight once in a while, huh?
Yes.
Did you investigate any of these amateur fights?
We reached out to a gym, but that was the only...
That's not what I asked you. My question to you is, did you contact any boxing organization or do any research with regards to amateur fights to see if Derek Medina had any amateur fights in South Florida?
No.
Did you look on Derek's Facebook page to see if you would see clips of these amateur fights?
We did recover approximately about a year's worth of Facebook content.
Did you see any organized amateur boxing matches on those?
Not that I recall.
Let me ask you a question. Why would somebody... So, let me ask you the million-dollar question. Do you believe him? Did you believe him when he said he was 25-0 as an amateur boxer?
I believe that he had fighting experience.
That wasn't my question, Detective. My question is, did you believe him to be an undefeated 25-0 amateur boxer?
I believe that he had previous fights. I can't substantiate whether he was 25-0 or not.
Well, you'll agree with me to make a determination as to whether my client is telling you the truth. I mean, it doesn't help his case during an interview with homicide detectives if you tell somebody he's an undefeated amateur boxer, correct? Well, it doesn't help his case, right? Kind of hurts his case because it makes it seem like he knows what he's doing. So the minute you were told he was an amateur boxer, you let it be. You didn't follow up on that investigation, did you?
No.
Going back to my initial question, Detective. What's more important? To find the truth or right?
Found the truth about a homicide.
My question is very clear, Detective. What's more important to you? To find the truth or to get the answer that you want?
Objection, ask the answer.
Sustained. Next question, please.
Did you find the name of one amateur boxer that he fought?
No.
Did you try to find the name of one amateur boxer that he fought?
Yes.
Okay. Who was it?
We reached out to the gym, and we investigated through the gym that we were advised that he had fought at.
That's Efren Ruiz. Efren Ruiz is a mixed martial artist. He talks, you'll agree with me that mixed martial arts and boxing are two separate things, correct?
Yes.
Okay. My question is with regards to the statement that he gave you that day. Did you reach out and do any investigation or find the name of one amateur boxer that my client fought?
No.
Do you know where? Did you find it odd that my client would tell you that he was an amateur boxer and give you a undefeated record when in actuality it didn't exist?
It was his statement to us, sir.
Here's my question. Did you find it odd? Not that he made it, but did you find it odd? Right?
Not a lot of people come in and tell us they're 25-0, sir.
Right. And I would think that once someone makes that statement, you do a little bit of detecting on it. But you didn't, did you?
No.
Because it helps the prosecution's case if you can show my client to be the next Muhammad Ali, right?
No.
let me ask you, you'll agree with me that in his statement, my client's formal statement, the one that we can see, not the almost hour and a half that we'll never be able to see, but the time that you actually spent with him on the video where it's recorded, he makes references to being punched near the head, and that's why he was in fear, correct?
Yes.
Did you ask him, hey, listen, aren't you an undefeated amateur boxer? Don't you get punched all the time? You didn't ask any of those questions, did you? You didn't follow up with any of those kinds of questions, did you?
No.
He also mentioned in the statement, he goes something about he's an amateur boxer, and then he starts telling you that he's a professional boxer. He does that at some point in the video, correct? He says the word professional boxer in there as well, correct?
He may have.
I don't want to be redundant, but any investigation done to see if he'd ever had any professional fights?
No.
Right? Ridiculous, right? Right?
Correct.
At some point during this investigation, with my client, he's making these statements. Did you think something's wrong here? Things don't add up?
No.
Okay. So back to your notes. We stopped at 5:12. So now from 5:12 5:41, he talks about being an amateur boxer, and he also then starts talking about the interaction he had with the decedent in this case, correct?
Yes.
That he exited the bedroom and he went to the kitchen, which is where the decedent in this case was, correct?
Correct.
And the next portion of the statement is with regards to them having a verbal agreement in the kitchen the first time. You recall that?
The verbal argument. Yes.
Right, verbal argument. You've watched the surveillance in this case, correct?
Yes.
You'll agree with me that the surveillance shows a portion of the kitchen, a very small sliver, correct?
Correct.
It's a galley kitchen, is it not?
It's a kitchen. It's a U-shaped kitchen.
3.5 feet wide, correct?
I'd have to look at the measurements.
Okay, it's in your report. Go ahead and take a look.
The dimensions are in my report?
I assume, as the lead investigator, did you receive reports from the rest of your team, your crime scene investigators? Did you get
Yes.
those? I would assume it would be either in crime scene investigator Pasquale or crime scene investigator, who was the lead? The lead crime scene investigator was Garcia.
Yes, I'll check one of their reports.
Please.
Detective Garcia's report indicates the kitchen dimensions are 3 feet by 3 feet 6 inches by 5 feet 6 inches.
Okay. I'm going to roughly estimate, but between you and me, about 5.5, roughly from the inception of the kitchen to where you are is a rough estimate of what 5.5 feet goes. Maybe less, probably a little less, huh?
Maybe.
3.5 feet would be maybe from here to maybe where this is. That's, I mean, I'm guesstimating. Okay.
It's a smaller kitchen.
You'll agree with me that a portion of the kitchen is memorialized by the video, correct?
Yes.
And it creates a right angle coming from the bottom right-hand corner to roughly where the sink is in the northwest area, or the central west area of the kitchen, correct?
Correct. It covers the cabinet and a portion of the sink.
When you walk into the kitchen, there's a refrigerator directly to your right, am I correct?
Correct.
There's some counter space on the right, and then there's a stove, correct?
Correct.
And then behind the stove, in the back area, it looks like there's 2 pull-out drawers, correct?
I'd have to refer to a photograph. Refresh my memory.
I need the photographs, please. No, just all of them, because I need the crime scene photographs, please. While we're getting that, I need a picture of the drawers. So, while my colleague is finding that for us, I'm not going to keep everybody waiting. To the left of that area, the top area, there's a compact or something, part of the kitchen area. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, there's some additional counter space.
And then there's a sink with a right portion of the sink and a left portion, kind of like a double sink. Does that sound about right? That's not an evidence? Listen. No problem. I apologize. Okay. And to the immediate left is a dishwasher area, correct? Does that sound about right?
From what I recall.
So the first time Derek comes downstairs, the majority of what transpires you can't see, correct?
Correct.
Would it be a fair statement to say that as he leaves, you see something which appears to be movement as he's walking away, is that correct?
You're referring to the initial time that he's downstairs?
Correct.
I'd have to review it specifically if you're asking me one particular part.
It's the last part. It's the most important part of the end of the first time he's down in the kitchen with her, which is when he's leaving. You don't have an independent recollection of what that looks like?
Are you talking about when he's leaving, or does he pop back into the screenshot?
At the final seconds before he heads upstairs. You don't have an independent recollection of that?
I'd have to look at the video again.
How long have you been preparing for this case, detective?
Quite some time since.
All right. And I've seen you outside diligently every day since the inception of this case. What you're telling this jury is that you don't have an independent recollection of what happened. You'll agree with me that the times, the interactions between the decedent and Derek, it's everything in this case. You want to know what happened when they were downstairs the first time and the second time. Super important, correct?
Correct.
You don't have an independent recollection of what happened as Derek is leaving the first time on the morning of August 8th, 2013?
I want to be as accurate as possible.
No
but
problem.
If you want me to look at something specific, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay, well, we'll get back to that when we play the video. Okay? May I approach, Judge? Detective, I'm showing you what's been marked as a 105 State Exhibit. Okay? May I approach, Judge?
You may.
Thank you. What I'm showing you is a picture that memorializes what the kitchen looked like with regards to the cabinets. Okay,
Correct.
the drawers. I apologize.
The drawers, yes.
Has your recollection been refreshed?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
the way that you had mentioned it, it didn't. But yes, I recall the drawers.
So, back to the kitchen. Walk in, to the right is the refrigerator, There's a stove at the end of the right-hand side. Then there's two drawers, one on the right side, one on the left side, a compact machine, a sink, and a dishwasher, correct?
Correct.
And the drawers on the back of the kitchen, there's one on the right and one on the left, correct?
Correct.
And the one on the right is the one that has the knives that were described by Mr. Medina, correct? Well, let me ask you this. Did Derek describe the knives as having, he gave dimensions, saying that had a black handle and about a 6-inch blade, correct?
No, I believe he said it was a 12-inch
Oh,
knife.
let's see.
That's how it was described to me, sir.
Detective, I'm going to show you what's been marked as evidence. Okay, sorry. As State's Exhibit 143. Is this the knife that your crime scene pulled from the right drawer at the crime scene? It's 5555 Southwest 67th Avenue.
Phones off, folks.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you'll agree with me that this knife was in the drawer. Where's that photograph, Detective?
Please put the item away.
You'll agree with me that that item was on the right-hand side, the right drawer, correct?
Correct.
Okay? And that's the right drawer if you are directly walking in, correct?
That's correct.
That would be the drawer behind and to the left of the decedent in this case, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you have an opportunity to discuss whether or not the weapon that you took into custody was the same weapon that you believe my client had in his possession, or that he told you was involved in this case after you grabbed these items in for evidence?
No. This item was collected after my interview with Derek Medina.
You'll agree with me that after, like around 1 o'clock in the morning, you guys were able to sit down with Derek and have him reread the transcript of his formal statement, correct?
Excuse me.
Package up the item before you take out your files.
I had a few, Judge.
Oh, yeah, Judge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, the readback was conducted at 11:15 p.m.
11:15, I'm sorry. That's after you got back to the station, correct?
No.
That was not...
When I interviewed Derek, I remained at headquarters with him. I didn't go to the scene and come back.
The rest of your team did though, correct?
Detective Medeiros was still on the scene
Right.
processing it.
I mean, listen, when we talked about this at the beginning, when a homicide unit is involved in a case, you have a team. You have other people doing other things because it's imperative to gather evidence in a timely fashion, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So one member of your team went there, took a picture of the photograph, took the item at issue this night, and put it into evidence, correct?
No, the evidence is collected by our crime scene unit, not our homicide detectives.
Let me just try to make it clear. When I say part of your team, I mean law enforcement. Not your homicide team, but all officers involved in this investigation. If I wasn't clear. Okay. So someone involved in this investigation, that's a law enforcement officer, took this specific knife and took it into evidence, correct?
Correct.
And that was done around what time?
You would have to speak to the crime scene person as to what time.
Well, let me ask you the most important question. Was it possible for you to get a picture of that knife and ask Mr. Medina, hey, Derek, is this the knife you used? Would that have been possible in this investigation?
Yes.
Was that done in this investigation?
No, because he stated that he disarmed her prior to the shooting that happened, so.
Well, let's talk about that. Did you mention in the pre-interview, because during the pre-interview is when he told you that he was a professional boxer, right, or an amateur boxer, and that he had an undefeated record, right?
He stated that in both the formal and the pre.
Right, but my question to you was, did he state that to you in the pre-interview?
Yes.
Okay. And during the pre-interview, when he said this to you, and he comes downstairs with a gun, and whether or not she had a knife, at some point, if she got a knife, did you ask him, hey, listen, could you just disarm her? Didn't you ask him that question?
No, he volunteered and told us that he disarmed her.
He voluntarily.
That's correct.
You didn't ask him, Derek, why didn't you just disarm her? You didn't have to shoot her. You didn't ask that question?
I didn't ask him could he have not shot her. He stated to us that he disarmed her, demonstrated for us how he disarmed her, and then advised that he shot her.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Going back to State's Exhibit 105, okay? The drawer where you found the purported knife is on what side? The right or the left?
The knife was recovered in the right.
On this side, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if Derek disarmed her, how could he get back to that drawer? Wouldn't he have had to, I mean, you'll agree with me, it's 3.5 feet by 6 feet. If the drawer is behind her, how does that happen? How does he disarm her and put the knife back in the drawer when that's where she's standing? How?
Sir, that's what your client advised us.
Right,
He
but here's
disarmed
the
her and
question,
then he shot her.
Detective.
Only one person can talk at a time, please.
Why didn't you ask him? Why didn't you ask him? How did this happen? Did you ask him that?
Because he told us it happened.
Okay, well, he also told you he was 25 and 0 as an amateur boxer, but let's be real, okay? You're a detective. He's telling you he disarms this person and then places the knife back. Did you look at the scene and look at the photograph and go, wait a minute, how did he do this? Does 2 and 2 equal 6? Did you sit down and look at the evidence and think to yourself, how is this possible?
I think it's very possible.
Well, I guess that's a question that the jurors are going to make a determination.
Absolutely.
If Derek opened that drawer, could Jennifer be there?
I think it's very possible
Okay.
that Derek Medina could have disarmed Jennifer just as he told us, placed the knife in the drawer, and closed it.
He
Just
didn't
as
tell you
told us.
this because you asked him, why did you have to shoot her? Didn't he try to make himself like a bigger man like he did when he told you about his boxing record, saying, I disarmed her? Because let me ask you a question. Did you find any cuts on his hands?
No.
No, none. No cuts on his hands, the location of the drawer, and still no follow-up questions, right? Because clearly you wanted to get to the truth. You didn't want to help your case, right?
Whether she had the knife or not, he shot. His comment to us, counsel, if you let me finish, his statement to us was that she did. His statement was that he disarmed her, and his statement was that he then shot her.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Did you at any point try to recreate this with your fellow detectives using the dimensions to make sure that his statement adds up?
No, because...
Let me ask you another question.
Well, you're going to let me finish.
Objection, Judge, interrupting the witness.
Sustained.
Sure, go ahead.
You may answer the question, Detective.
Yes, based on the dimensions of of the kitchen, it did, like I said earlier, sounded very possible that exactly the way he said happened.
Your next question?
Did you actually set up, let me ask you, did you set up with a ruler or a tape the dimensions of the kitchen and try to do that yourself? Did you do that?
No.
Let me ask you this. The second time Derek comes downstairs when he has a firearm, does he stop and shoot the decedent at the doorway of the kitchen?
No.
How many times, I don't know if you're going to know this, but how many times in the video, in the 28 seconds, well, let me ask you this. Do you know how long it took from the time that Derek walked into the kitchen, the second time he was downstairs, to the time that shots were fired? That moment. Did you measure that time period?
I'm sure I did at some point. I don't recall at this very second how many seconds it was.
Is it in your report?
No,
Why not?
because it's in the video, so we can look at it if you like.
Well, you wrote reports, you wrote statements in your report about his statement. You didn't write about how long it took from him to get downstairs to the time of the shooting?
No, he didn't tell me that.
I get he didn't tell you that, but when you viewed the video, timing is important in this case, correct?
Correct. When I viewed the video, the statement of Derek Medina was already complete.
Okay. But he voluntarily spoke to you. You didn't try to speak to him again after the incident, did you?
No.
From the time that he gets downstairs to the time that you see what purports to be a shooting is roughly about 30 seconds, correct? Does that sound about right? I mean, it's actually 28 seconds, but I'm not going to hold you to it since you don't remember.
It sounds about right.
Okay.
It's not that long.
From the time that he walked into the kitchen, when he goes, he doesn't expel the firearm at the base of the kitchen, right? He doesn't walk over and just start shooting, correct?
No, he does not.
You see him walk into the kitchen, correct?
Correct.
How many times do you see his body move backwards? From the time that he walks in to the time that he's in the view of the camera, of the video, the surveillance video. Do you know that answer?
I know for sure he comes back in the camera picture one time, from what I recall.
One time? Okay. Well, this is your case, so I'm going to write that down. One time. Can you tell if there's a fight going on between Derek and the decedent in this case, the second time he was down there?
No.
Did you look in the video?
Yes, I've watched the video.
How hard did you look at the video?
I've watched the video several times. If there's a particular point that you'd like to show me, I'd be more than happy to see it again.
I'm simply asking what you observed, detective. So your recollection is one time.
I said I recall one time.
That's what I just said, your recollection. One
Yes.
time. Okay. Do you see Jennifer Alfonso, the decedent in this case? Let me back up. Let me ask this question first. Is it your position that she was in a cowering position in the right-hand corner, in the northeast corner, does that sound about right, of the kitchen, in a cowering position when she was shot? That's your position, correct?
Yes.
Is there evidence on the video that shows actual physical confrontation between Jennifer Alfonso and Derek a second before the shooting?
I don't recall seeing that.
Did you look?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's go back to my client's statement regarding the first portion of the morning.
Okay.
During the pre-interview, we're relying on your notes and your report. Did he make any mention, did Derek Medina make any mention that after, I mean, it's fair to say that the decedent in this case was upset, correct?
Yes.
And was that confirmed by any other part of your investigation?
Yes.
Okay. So she was mad that morning, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And did Derek make any mention of the fact that he was trying to calm her down and he was trying to make amends with her in front of her daughter? Did he ever make any mention of that to you?
I don't recall if he used those exact terms, but that term did come up during the investigation.
And was that confirmed during your investigation?
Yes.
And that was confirmed by his daughter, correct? His stepdaughter, Isabel, correct?
That's your hearsay.
Sustained.
But it was confirmed, yes?
Yes.
So she's mad, and he's trying to calm her down. But she stays mad, correct? And she goes downstairs, right?
I can't say how she was feeling when she went downstairs.
Well-
She was upset that morning.
Okay. Well, you also just said that he tried to calm her down, and he tried to make amends upstairs, but she was still upset and she didn't accept his apology, correct?
And you're referring to the first argument, correct?
Correct. Upstairs.
upstairs.
Right. They're fighting. He's trying to calm her down. He's apologetic. She declines. Is that about right? Does that summarize it?
In conjunction with pulling the gun on her, yes.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that. All right. So she's upset, and you said something about the fact that, or that he stated that she was throwing random objects at him. Correct?
Correct.
At any point during your pre-interview, did he indicate that he thought that she was on drugs?
That topic came up at the, if I recall correctly, right before we went officially on for the formal statement.
Right, because we can hear it.
He mentions it in the audio that was previously shown.
Okay, and when he mentions it, he talks about the fact, and I think the video speaks for itself, but he makes reference to the fact that she had a history using drugs.
Correct, it was past usage.
Okay. And something to the effect of he was trying to get her off drugs and he was concerned about her drug use, correct?
It was past use, but yes.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you ask him, did she look like she was on drugs today? Is that a question you asked him?
No?
And this is after he tells you that I'm concerned or that she had a substantial drug history. I mean, the video speaks for itself, but he talks about her smoking marijuana and taking synthetic ecstasy, correct?
I don't think, I mean, I forget the exact verbiage that he used. I don't think he used synthetic ecstasy.
Well, let's look.
Let's look.
Do you have the video? It's his statement. No, that's not it yet. I just wanted to confirm. I don't know if this is it. This is not it. This is Moreno's exhibit. This is the front door.
It would be State 146.
State 140. Thank you, Judge.
Oh, he got it?
Well, while the clerk's looking at it, let me ask some more questions. We'll come back to that detective. Prior to the video turning on, did my client make any statements with regards to the decedent having erratic, strange behavior? To the best of your recollection.
Not that I recall.
And you're saying not that you recall because the majority of your recollection in this case is based on the notes that you gave in your report, correct?
Correct. The notes I took in my report as well as the formal statement.
Well, the formal statement only catches part of. I'm talking about the pre-interview. I'm talking about the portion that we'll never be able to see. I'm asking you, your recollection is mainly based on what you wrote in your report, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, okay. So, Lisa, will you be patient with me, Judge Mayer? Thank you. I need some help. I don't know what to click on. Start. Okay, let's see.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us do this. Let's take a 10-minute recess. All right, Deborah, can you assist me? Jose is going to get the coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, the first pot of coffee has been brewed. The second is working, so we'll see how we do. Please leave your notepads on the chairs behind you. And please remember my rules and orders. As always, I will ask that you be at the other end of the hallway at 2:50. All jurors are excused. Thank you. Let the jurors exit the courtroom first, please. Thank you, teacher. Please be seated. Detective, if you need to use the facilities, I believe the jury room is open. If not, let me know and I will